So we are soon to start the big build. And before we have the diggers come in, I wanted to share you a little bit about our design process. If you've seen the previous videos, you may have already seen that the planning phase took a couple of attempts. So I'm going to show you where our now approved plans are actually sitting in the plot, and hopefully it makes sense, so you can actually see where I'm standing in comparison to the actual plot. So I'm going to show you with the camera the other way. So we are currently coming into the plot from this driveway, but the new one is going to come in just here where I'm standing, and it's going to loop all the way down towards this hedgerow, and the new house is going to be bang in the middle there. And the really good thing about actually living on the plot for the last year and a half, it really allows you to get a good feel for the way that you can live on the land. So now we're actually on the hottest day of the year, and there's so much sun all over. It's amazing around the plot. But what we have begun to kind of really realize is where the sunset is and where the sun falls throughout the day, and that really allows us to kind of then determine where are we going to have our social space in the garden, where do we want to enjoy the morning sun, and where do we want to enjoy that sunset. So currently at the moment, the shed stable block gets loads of the evening sun, and we wanted to make sure that the natural swimming pond has all of that beautiful sun in the evening, so we get to enjoy the sunset. So now where the football goal is will become a swimming pool. Our first plan was this initial black clad timber building, and so many amazing places we visited were a big inspiration to this. It was a really simple, understated, single story and black clad, and the first initial problem with that was the black. And despite us actually doing a little bit of research, going into, again, applications in the nearby area, there is actually, as we speak, a property being built right now, black clad. So we were like, what's the problem here? So anyway, yeah, they wouldn't accept the black. Supposedly, it stands out far too much in the natural surroundings. So they wanted something that had light tones that would complement the woodland. Despite black barns and agricultural buildings being all around in the countryside, it was not allowed. So we had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, how do we go about building something that's got modern feel to it, but also for us has a timeless feel. And that's where we changed the materials from a black clad building to have a kind of old reclaimed look brick, and also a new larch timber. So it would have a nice natural timber feel to one side and a brick to the other side. So it's changing the tones completely, but you're getting that browns and reds and greys into it. So it feels like it kind of works well with the woodland surrounding us. Another thing that restricted us was actually the height restrictions. So the problem with the initial design was all this black cladding. They didn't like the fact that it was so high. We had to bring the roof height down. We also discussed sort of changing the shape of it to accommodate bringing the height down a bit as well. But yeah, that was scrapped. We weren't allowed to do that. So that meant the complete rework of the entire design. were not happy with the visibility of the property from the lane. So despite us being quite private and having hedgerows along the lane, their argument was that if the hedgerows weren't to be there, they were cut down, for instance, our building would be visible from the lane. And that's because it was like a long expansive one build like wall against the lane. So we had to then rework the positioning of the build so that it wasn't actually positioned all the way along the lane, and instead bring it more into the center of the plot and reshape it. So instead of like a long building, we then created a few variations where we looked at a U shape, horseshoe shape, L shape, and then finished with this more kind of two barn style gable end properties side by side. So that worked sufficiently for our final design. So lots of things that I did in the lead up to the meeting with the architects was gather ideas and lots of pin boards that I put together. This can be really useful, getting ideas also from magazines and taking them along to the architect. But it also can to a lot of confusion as well. So as Luke had said to me at the time, he's like, if you build a pin board with too many ideas, and especially for us, we went from one design to the next, there's a collection of so many clashing ideas that you end up with too much sometimes. So I really learned that I've got to scale back sometimes on some of those ideas. Too much, too many contrasting ideas just makes things clash, and then you end up perhaps, as Luke would say, a Frankenstein of a house. So you need to make sure your vision is clear and that you don't have lots of different opposing kind of designs that are just going to clash together. So I really, you can find that there's too much information out there, too much choice out there, and then you don't know where to start. So keep it really simple. So the conditions stated that we had to prove and give samples of all the materials. So like I was talking about the aged sort of reclaimed look brick, the wood that we're going to use, and even the windows. So we've had to send samples in for each product. Even the wood, they needed to see the exact stain that we're going to use on it if it's not just a natural finished timber. Frames we're going to use for the windows. They needed green roof details, so exactly what we're going to grow on the green roof. So that apparently the condition was that it's not just fully sedum, it's got to have a variety of plants. And also with the landscaping design, this was a condition as well. We had to prove what we're going to do with the landscape, what's our planting scheme, what trees we're going to use. There's just so much to consider when, again, you're in a national park, that you've got to be seen to obviously promoting biodiversity of the area. And we've proved with that, with our planting scheme, what we're going to be planting over the next course of the year. And with that, we'll be adding in a natural pool. And the natural pool also has this amazing biodiversity with it and attracting loads of wildlife in everything that we're growing there. So hopefully that is, a big plus on the biodiversity of the build as well. Scheme of ecological enhancement, that was part of the conditions, and also a sensitive lighting strategy. So like I mentioned with the night skies, there's a restriction on how many roof lights you have. There's also a restriction on the lighting that you use out in your garden. So we can't have up-facing lights, which we won't have. There'll be a few eco solar lights along the driveway and around the exterior of the house, but other than that we won't be having much lighting that is lighting up into the evening skies. So that is a restriction as well. Overall, planning approved, but certain discharge of conditions need to be done in order for us to be able to start the build. So now you can see with our new plans that we've got two dwellings, so two barn style sort of buildings joined by a glass link block, and the glass link block has a green roof on it, and this glass link will be the entranceway. The lower part, the living area, lounge area, and then the upper part, which is joined by just a couple of steps. And up there will be the bedrooms. We've got the old timber, the old reclaimed look brick part, and then the timber clad part, which is also timber clad over the roof as well. Here's one of the pin boards that we've got for ideas for the house. I mean, there's loads of sponsor stuff in there as well, so ignore that. But we wanted to look at ways of finding timber clad buildings, gable end, and how that would work with a brick part of the building as well. So you can see this is more sort of a stone finish there, but the brick and the stone, the wood all worked really well together. So this particular one is one of my favorites, and I love the variation in the cladding. So we've gone with a timber clad with a SIOOX coating, which will mean that the wood is actually going to weather consistently throughout the whole year. And this was a bit of inspiration behind the wood finish that we'll go with. The idea is that as you walk in through the entrance way, there's this huge big glass window, and you can see right the way through that window to the garden area and the swimming lake pond area. And this was inspired by a recent stay at a grand design house that we stayed in that had a natural pool, and it was just the most beautiful thing. It just kind of the greenery, the like wildlife, the nature that it attracts, and just a lovely thing to have if you're people that like to exercise, and you can use your pool as well. So this is something that was a big draw towards putting the pool where it is, so that when you walk into the house you can actually see it. Along the way of the planning application as well, or our sort of design process, we wanted to try and make this an eco house as much as possible. This was also a big factor now with planning applications, that councils are going to be looking for ways of houses being more ecological moving forwards and sustainable. We wanted to look at a solar roof, not solar panels as such, but actually having the solar panels completely integrated into the roof. The entire roof is a solar roof, and we were looking at ways of incorporating that. We've also been looking at air source heat pumps. Everything will be underfloor heating throughout. All of the systems that you're going to put in place have to be also, we've had to show at planning stage as well what we're going to be doing with the eco side of things. So at this stage as well, before we start the build, we also have had a full garden landscape design done as well. This was actually part of the conditions of planning, so we had to get that done. Another hidden cost, well, I think if you kind of know what you want to do with your garden, but you've got to have all these plans done, it's a bit of a hidden cost that you didn't expect. But anyway, we've had to do that, but it has given us a lovely visual of what is going to happen with the plot, maybe in the long run, because this is all very costly stuff, but at least it can give us an idea of what we can grow now, and hopefully over the years will grow big, and how, because we're on a slight hill, it's going to give us an idea of how we kind of section off certain areas to give us a more like a social area, playing area for the kids, space that's free for wildflowers and just like let the land grow wild, and then our woodland as well. So it's really nice to see different areas of the plot through this landscaping design. Anything else that you'd like to see more of during this initial process, then please do like and subscribe, and thank you.